I cannot believe it, but we are flying straight into May, and this month has some pretty big game releases, along with a brand new huge first party title. Today we will be covering the top new Xbox games of May 2023. All of these games will be available on the store to buy, and some of these games will also be arriving onto Game Pass day one. Remember guys to subscribe below for more Xbox content every single week, and without further ado, let's dive right into the games. First up we have Redfall, the upcoming open world co-op FPS coming to us from the talented people over at Arcane Austin. With their pedigree of making games such as Prey and Dishonored, we all know this game is set for some massive success. An open world game about vampires is what we as gamers have always wanted, and with the story and world looking utterly astounding, it has garnished a huge following. This town of Redfall is ultimately under siege by a legion of vampires who have cut off the island from the outside world, and it's up to the handful of survivors to become the perfect team of vampire slayers. The 30 and 60 FPS debate does rage on with this title, but I think many will still enjoy this haunting new FPS IP. The game is just around the corner and launches on May 2nd and onto Game Pass day one. Now, joining Redfall on the 2nd of May, we have a brand new strategy game arriving onto Xbox, and so far this game has incredible review scores across the board. Age of Wonders 4 is the next installment in the highly regarded franchise, and if you don't know what this game is, then it is a 4-time strategy game with turn-based tactical combat. The developers have evolved the game's iconic empire building, role-playing and warfare to the next level. A new storytelling event system and hugely customizable empires provide an endlessly replayable experience. With both PC Gamer rating it a 87 and IGN rating it an 8 out of 10, this new entry is certainly shaping up to be great. It will be available on the Xbox Store on May 2nd. Well, this next game has been high on my own personal radar, especially since the release of Coco Cucumber's first amazing voxel-based game, Echo Generation. Ravenlock is the next entry from the talented developers, and my god does it take the visuals up to a whole new level. So you may be wondering what this game is about. After stumbling upon a magical mirror, Ravenlock finds herself pulled away from reality and into a land shrouded in darkness, cursed by the corruption of the Queen Caterpillar. Seeking only to return home at first, she rises to the occasion by challenging fearsome foes and beastly bosses to save the fallen kingdom. This game's combat, enemy design and visuals look utterly outstanding, and I cannot wait. It arrives onto the Xbox Store on May 4th and also comes to Game Pass day one. One game that I totally didn't see coming to Game Pass but got announced fairly recently is Fuga Melodies of Steel 2. This is a sequel to the first game, which is the captivating tale of Fuga Melodies of Steel. This turn-based RPG is back with a ramped up battle system for more strategy, as well as a brand new event system that gives you more thrilling choices to affect your experience. You can see from the gameplay on screen that the artwork looks like a massive step up on the original that was already so great. The first game was so highly rated as one of the best turn-based RPGs available on any platform, and it's a great addition to see this arrive day one onto Game Pass. It will be available this May 11th. For all of our motorcycle fans out there is a new game racing onto the scene this May, and that is TT Isle of Man Ride on the Edge 3. Now, I for one am not a massive motorcycle enthusiast, but Nacon have promised this to be the most realistic and cutting-edge physics-based game ever made. There are 32 different circuits available at launch across a huge and expansive 200 kilometers of road. Whether you decide on driving super sport or superbike class motorcycles, there will be 38 official riders at launch to take your pick from. With a detailed career mode, online multiplayer, and weekly and monthly races, it looks like a decent package overall. It arrives on the Xbox Store on May the 11th. This next game has had me hyped since the original leaks, especially as a massive fan of LEGO. Finally, we look to be getting an original LEGO racing game since the massive throwback of the original LEGO Racers, which was just so great back in the day. LEGO 2K Drive is really shaping up to be the LEGO game that all fans need, and so far the previews and gameplay shown looks utterly fantastic. Players will be dropped into a huge open world called Bricklandia, where you can race anywhere with anyone. The unique premise is that everything within the game game is destructible and you can make any vehicle that you desire. The creation engine provided looks incredible and the amount of customization is insane, and it definitely looks like a step above any other LEGO title out there. This arrives on the Xbox Store on May 19th. Well, if you're a fan of horror games, then this next game is going to be at the top of your list for this year. Coming from the masterminds behind Summer and Amnesia, we have the new first-person horror game called Amnesia The Bunker. You'll be left all alone in a desolate World War I bunker with only one bullet remaining in the barrel, and it's up to you to face the oppressing terrors in the dark. At all times, you will be hunted by the ever-present threat, reacting to your every move and sound, and you must adapt your playstyle to face everything thrown at you. Every decision will change the outcome of how the game responds, and the developer has stated that all actions will bear consequences. This is shaping up to be a truly intense horror experience, and it arrives onto the Xbox Store and day one onto Game Pass on May 23rd. The next game arriving in May is one that I've kept my eye on for some while, and that is Warhammer 40k Boltgun. Don't get me wrong, this is probably the smallest game on this list and many of you won't have heard of it. However, the premise of a Warhammer inspired game set in the same visual style as the traditional Doom 64 games, I think we have a recipe for success. This is a traditional shooter experience, so expect paper thin enemy models, static death animations, and color coded keys and doors, and if you're like me, this just looks totally awesome. As a space marine dropped in with a boatload of weapons, this is going to be one hell of a time. With Warhammer 40k always known for its gore and multitude of enemies, I'm surprised we've never seen this style before for the entire franchise. If you're interested in checking it out, it arrives onto the Xbox Store on May 23rd. Now, up next we have the delayed Lord of the Rings Golem, and we are finally receiving the game on the 25th of May. The Lord of the Rings Golem was first announced back in 2019 with an original 2021 release date. The original reveal said the game would explore the events between Golem's discovery of the One Ring and the beginning of the events seen in The Lord of the Rings. The game has faced several delays en route to its new release date, and gamers got to see the game last year. However, we really weren't super impressed with the game looking pretty lackluster. The premise of the game centered around Golem seems like such an awesome concept, but the gameplay still looks incredibly uninspired and graphically underwhelming. We will have to see how this game performs when it launches this May. Before we get to our last game on this list, we have a couple of honourable mentions that are worth keeping on your radar this month. First, we have the last gen release of Hogwarts Legacy. This game released back a couple of months ago with critical and commercial success and takes you on a journey to Hogwarts like we've never seen before. Finally, Xbox One players will get to take on this excellent game, and it arrives on May 5th. Then we have the release of Cassette Beasts. This is an awesome looking turn-based open world RPG where you collect some awesome monsters. The unique premise is that you can combine any two monster forms and create even more unique and powerful ones. This is a great game, and it arrives day one onto Game Pass and the Xbox Store on May 25th. Finally, towards the end of this month, we are finally getting the first ever console release of the widely successful and awesome Company of Heroes franchise. Company of Heroes 3 is the next entry in the World War II real-time strategy game, and this time takes players to new locations across the sweeping deserts of Africa and the rolling hills of Italy. If you're a fan of games like Command & Conquer, then Company of Heroes would definitely be up your alley. It's fantastic to see more RTS games coming to console with custom controls such as Age of Empires earlier this year. Reviews with this game on PC are very mixed, with players criticizing the performance as well as the increased amount of microtransactions. The gameplay seems to be the biggest praise along with the visuals update, and if you're interested, it comes to the Xbox Store on May 30th. Let me know in the comments below what game you're looking forward to this May, and whilst down there, make sure you like the video and subscribe for more Xbox content every week. If you want to see some of the best open world games coming this 2023, check out the video on screen now.